Tension is high as armed poll watchers in Arizona guard absentee drop-off sites, causing claims of voter intimidation. Also, since the 2020 election, the city of Greenbay has been under fire from being investigated and has had multiple complaints. But Meagan Wolfe with Wisconsin Elections Commission says this midterm election should run at ease.
We prepare for all sorts of things as we head into an election. So we're always preparing for what would we do or how would we respond.
Wisconsin had 3.2 million registered voters in 2018. That number jumped this year to 3.5 million. Jesse Balcom, Oshkosh City Clerk, says the city has had good voter turnout in the past.
We're certainly hopeful that people will take advantage of their opportunity to participate in the voting process and do so, in the correct, safe manner.
She's hoping for the same Tuesday.
We have, wonderful voting population that comes in and votes on election day, if not in person with the absentee process or absentee by mail.
When it comes to security concerns and other issues, Balcom says it's always in the back of everyone's minds.
We're very hopeful that the people of the city of Oshkosh will be patient with their friends and neighbors who are out voting or who are serving as election inspectors to make our elections run smoothly.
According to the Brennan Center for Justice, 1 in 6 election officials have experienced threats nationwide. 77% say they feel these threats have increased in recent years.
I do feel very good about the fact that our law enforcement partners and our intelligence partners, both at the state, local, and federal level, that they are constantly monitoring the threat environments, and they have not identified any specific or credible threats to election infrastructure.
According to WEC, almost 600,000 people have already cast their absentee votes. As of Thursday, more than 223,000 Wisconsinites cast their in-person absentee ballot.
Election observers are now able to stand in a box made with tape in order to see the ballots themselves being placed into the ballot box. Earlier this morning, they were only able to view the election from the city clerk's office. Now in this office, this is where voters come in, they obtain their ballots, register to vote, and check in. Tonight, we have balanced news coverage. The group who filed the lawsuit argue Greenbay City Clerk Celestine Jeffries had refused to let election observers be in a public hallway where voters fill out and deposit their ballots.
The plaintiffs want two things. The plaintiffs want to see the witness certification process, and the plaintiffs want to see the elector depositing his or her ballot into the ballot box.
City attorneys argued that these plaintiffs are not residents of Greenbay.
Under Wisconsin Statute 7.41, there is no requirement to be an election observer. There's no requirement that you have to be a resident of the ward or the district that you're actually going to observe.
The complainants proposed to have the electors return the ballots to the clerk's office for witnessing and depositing. This was the process that took place for the August primary. The assistant attorney explained why this isn't the current process they are using.
Now we're talking about a general election, and the numbers just change. Not only of the amount of voters who will be coming in to vote in person, but also in the number of staff that are needed to both distribute the absentee ballots to the in-person absentee voters.
Lindsay Mather says there's not enough room or windows for observers to observe this way with the amount of people for the space.
If we know there's a difference in volume, then we have to create a difference in process.
Judge Mark Hammer came to a decision at the end of the hearing.
The city of Greenbay, through the city clerk, is to provide observer access to the witness certification process and to the electors depositing his or her ballot in the ballot box during the in-person absentee voting window. Second, that the city will create a viable process which accomplishes the court's orders and will do so no later than 2:00 p.m. on this day.
This is the place election observers had to stay prior to Wednesday's hearing. Now, this is where observers can stand to see the ballots placed in the box.
After about a month of conservative lawmakers and residents alleging illegal activity from Greenbay's November election, 5 residents are formally asking for action.
It's no wonder, given the many irregularities in the last election cycle, that people are finding it difficult to trust the process. And that's why I decided to do something about it.
The respondents listed in the complaint are Wisconsin Elections Commission Administrator Meagan Wolfe, Greenbay Mayor Eric Genrich, his former Chief of Staff and newly appointed City Clerk Celestine Jeffries, and former City Clerk Chris Teske. The complaint alleges state and federal laws were violated when the city accepted a $1.6 million grant from Center for Tech and Civic Life, and the conditions that came with the money. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and his wife paid for the grants.
Is that the principal problem is the Common Council voted for these conditions, and these conditions violate the federal constitution and state law.
Attorney Eric Cardle says only the state legislature can change legal conditions for a federal election. He says the argument presented in the complaint is different from a pre-election lawsuit which a federal judge dismissed. Cardle says open records requests returned last month, including thousands of city emails, provided new key information.
They approved the conditions, but after the conditions were in place and after the money was received, the private corporations and their employees were introduced to engage in election administration.
We wanted to interview either Mayor Genrich or City Attorney Vanessa Chavez about the complaint. In an email, Chavez told us the city hasn't seen the complaint and its policy is to not comment on pending investigations. She says the city continues to stand behind the handling of the November 2020 election and will continue to comply with any requirements of the Wisconsin Elections Commission as it always has. Based on the type of complaint, the city has 15 days to respond. Then the complainants have 10 days to respond back. After that, the commission will decide if any action is necessary.